Hi, this is Hanna Kubiak, and you are listening to the Sound Architect podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Sound Architect podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hughes, and today I'm joined by Hanna Kubiak from CD Projekt Red. Thanks for joining me today, Hanna. How are you?
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for having me here. I'm really glad that you're inviting me here. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Very well. I'm very excited to talk to you about Cyberpunk today. However, before we dive straight into Cyberpunk, because there is a lot to discuss there, I'd love to know more about your journey into game audio and how you became an audio designer.
You know what? That's like a pretty long story because I think that I was very into sound when I was a kid because I was always, singing and I wanted to play an instrument, guitar, to be honest.
Nice, good choice.
Yeah, but it didn't end it with the guitar, but I will just tell about it in a second. And I remember when I was in first or second grade, I won this small musical instrument like bells or something with this small hammer mechanism, and I was just playing on that all the time, and I was playing that like different melodies from TV shows, from movies, from classical music or my favorite songs like that. And I think that after some time my parents were like so tired with that, so they just sent me to the music school.
Go make loads of noise there instead.
Yeah, exactly. And if she wants to play a noise, just maybe somebody could teach her how, make it proper. And I remember that there was this exam there, and I've scored the highest score there. And they asked me if I could just step out from this guitar idea because they have like many kids for two positions there, and they just offer me different instruments there. Like they told me that they have clarinet, violin, and bassoon, cello, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe cello. And I just fell in love with the instrument since then. So I was playing the cello for like several years. Well, I'm still playing it.
Nice.
And later, yeah, it's just like it's one of the greatest instruments I could imagine. It's really great. And I wanted to study something which was related to music because I knew that I will not go to music or something which is more related to being a professional cello player, cellist. And I picked musicology as my to go studies. So I was there, I was learning a lot about music and the culture of music and different studies about, music from every single period of time. And I remember that I've picked as my thesis a subject about music and sonor layers in music and games.
Cool.
Because I always wanted to, I was always enjoying playing games when I was a kid. I remember I was super astonished by sound effects and music in Diablo, the very first Diablo. It was just, oh my God, it was just amazing. Or Warcraft 2, it was my favorite. And I just remember when I was sitting and playing the game and just clicking on different objects and characters just to hear something because it was so good. Yeah. So I was writing my thesis about everything there, and after some time, when my kid was small, I was not working at this time. I was just, writing different articles for different magazines and websites, something like that. And I started to have my very own YouTube channel, which was teeny tiny thing. But to be honest, I started to record videos only because I was so pissed that at that moment in Poland, Nintendo was not popular and everyone was talking about Sony and PSP, and I was a huge Nintendo fan. I was like, why people are not into DS or Wii? Like, what's happening? And so I thought that, okay, I will just start that thing. And after some time, I got this direct message, private message on YouTube, I guess, from some guy, and he wrote to me that, you know what, I like your channel, and you know what, I work at Techland in Wrocław, because back then I was not living in Warsaw, just like I'm living right now. but I lived in Wrocław, another big city in Poland. And he told me that, you know what, we are looking for somebody who will work as, oh my God, what was the position? Office something. And maybe you would like to join us or something, just, go check the interview. And I thought, wow, that might be my very first and my maybe only chance to see how the dev studio look like from the inside, right? So I was like, okay, of course. I went there and I got the job and was like, whoa, that was fast. And basically, that was like office administration job, and it was helping like every single team with many different things. And after some time, they started looking for audio QA. And I remember that HR told them, but you know what, Hanna likes video games. And she's after musicology, so she knows something about sound. Maybe ask her.
Yeah.
And I remember that QA lead at that time asked me if I would be interested. I was like, holy shit, of course I'm interested. Like, it's great, yeah. So for some time, it was like I was doing my old job with office and administration, and after working hours I was just learning how to do this audio QA job. But after some time I couldn't switch to this position fully because I had to move to Warsaw because of some personal reasons. And back then Techland did not have any game dev studio here in Warsaw. They only have this PR and marketing department, so we had to finish our cooperation back then, and I started to looking for a job. And when I remember that when I was working in Techland, I was working at front desk as well, and there was this one guy who was an outsource in Techland, sound outsource, I guess, because I was not familiar with him back then, and that was Krzysztof Lipka, who is right now our expert sound designer in CD Projekt Red. And I think that he was the one who found me in all those applications there. And maybe that was a coincidence or maybe not, but I think that he might be the one who picked me, from all the other people who were applying there. So I started there as a sound, wait, I need to remember my position name back then. It was audio QA Analyst. And I started like few months before Witcher 3 release. I started in end of November, I guess, and The Witcher was released in May 17th. And I was audio QA. I was hired by audio, not by the QA department. So I remember that I had no clue, about basically anything in game audio back then. And I remember that I just sit with our another sound designer expert, Paweł Dałzwart, and he just showed me everything about ambiences and sound triggers. And basically my very first task was there to implement audio triggers for caves. And it was like super complicated. And right now I know that was one of the hardest things you could just implement with triggers, because caves are like, they have irregular shape, right? And it was not easy thing to do. But back then I was like, whoa, neat, let's do this. It's interesting for me, excellent.
It's a nice technical task to start with, huh?
Yes, exactly. And long story short, after The Witcher 3, we have the first expansion, and I was helping with the guys with the implementation. And starting with the second expansion for The Witcher, Blood and Wine, I was just junior sound designer, and I was taking care of scenes and doing just the sound designer job. Yeah, so that was my very first steps in game industry, but it was great.
Awesome though. What a journey, and also to go almost straight onto something like The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Just boom. That's like one of your like first audio positions. That's crazy.
Yeah, when you think about it, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like back then I was not realizing that that's super big important project, right? I was just excited in, finding a job or something.
Amazing. And I have a question actually, because you are credited as senior sound designer / scene audio coordinator.
Yes.
So is that to do with things like cinematics, or what does scene audio coordinator mean?
Oh, it means a lot. Basically, yes, it's about all the cutscenes, all the dialogues we have in game, because we are treating them together as, cinematics, and we have different kinds of dialogues in our game, because we have the ones more static, which were like not that interesting from my side of view, and we have many different dialogues where we can just move and talk with everybody. And
There is so much dialogue.
yes, exactly. So everything just goes into this cinematics or scenes tag.
Wow. So all the small conversations and everything all counted as cutscenes.
Yeah, and you know what, like being this coordinator means that you have to develop tech and think about how to improve everything on technical side, to be bridge between audio designers and cinematics designers as well, and animators. And it was about planning the work, what is more important, what we should do right now, what to oversight every single obstacles, and it was just connecting everything together between few different teams, so it was just working cross teams. Yeah.
I won't lie. One of my biggest questions coming up is going to be about the planning and how you prioritize, as well as how you come up with all this systemic approach to all the solutions. But before that, I'd have a couple of quick questions. I'm just curious, like, what was the kind of total team size for the audio team in the end?
At the end, okay, so at the end we had help from one Gwent sound designer, Mateusz Szymański, and he jumped in the last few months and helped us with implementation and designing a few things for some fights during open world. And alongside with him, Anthony Breslin, more technical sound designer, helped us with CP, and he was previously working on Gwent as well. But Anthony joined CP team after some time, and before then we were working with, let me count, it was Paweł Daudzwart, Krzysztof Lipka, Krzysztof Popiel, Jasper Young, Patryk Woźniak, Piotrek Malinowski, Aram, and me. So 8 sound designers.
Wow. And how many total in-house?
Yeah, that was us.
That's like all of the in-house ones?
2 sound designers in Kraków, and 6 of us in 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6 of us in Warsaw. And that was it. We were doing all the recordings, we were doing all the clean recordings, and also post-production implementations, thinking about technical designs and how to connect everything about our systemic approaches. And that was it. Well, we had like wonderful audio code team as well, and they were helped us with many things, and they were like lifesavers for us. But our team, compared I think to the other AAA studios teams, is like not that big, and we don't have like any contractors and any outsource, so it was just us. So the work we did, I think, was really gigantic.
Yeah, it's huge. And something I have to ask is, what audio programmer support did you have? Sorry if you already said, but how many audio programmers did you have?
Yeah, we have, let me count Colin, our audio localization and code lead. We had Pepe, we had Mateusz, Anya, who joined us a few months ago, and she's mostly connected with localization. And yeah, I'm trying to think about everyone, and because we haven't seen each other in like a year.
Yeah.
And they're not on our audio meetings. Yeah, and 5. Yeah, we had 5. Yeah, 5 audio code.
Oh wow! So you had quite a hefty audio code support team, at least.
Yes.
That makes me feel happier about the support you got. I was thinking about how big a game this was, and I was like, man, I hope they at least had some good code support going on, because that would be massive.
Yeah, audio code were really brilliant. Like, they were saving our asses so many times with great ideas and just helping us. Yeah.
Yeah, audio coders are the best. They are, I call them golden
That's true.
unicorns because they're so hard to
Yeah, they're
find, but when
like
they
your
do,
best friends.
yes,
Yeah.
treat your audio coders well.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was the team size. I'm really curious what kind of studios and tech you were working with in the building, and also how it went throughout COVID times as well towards the end. That must have been quite difficult. So do you have in-house studios and things? And
In-house studios, well, we have our audio rooms, and they have really, really good acoustic treatment. And with COVID situation, it was really, really tough, because I remember that everything like happened really quickly and changed end of February last year. And basically, like 2-3 days, IT did this tremendous work and just helped to shift everyone to, from working from in the office to work at home. And that was really hard for us, because we are people who like to talk with each other, because we are working in the same on the same floor, and we have like 3 audio rooms. No, 4 audio rooms on the one side and 3 audio rooms on the other side of the corridor, which is not that wide. And if you just want to talk about some idea or ask about something, just go and talk with people, right?
yeah,
We are connecting every single day. And it's really, really important if you want to, I don't know, gameplay designer or animator or cinematic designer, just ask them about something, just you stand up and just go talk with them. And with this COVID reality, when many people were having problems with reaching to each other, because that's something totally different from them, right? They were having to work on this tremendous and really big project from home, at the same time managing their kids and having their spouse having different meetings at the same time.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Yeah, and difficult thing to do. Yeah. So I think that we managed to do that really, really great. Obviously, it's hard to judge after this time, because it was end of the project for us. And for audio, it's always really, really big amount of work to do on the very end of the game development.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just hard. And I think that it was important to not focus on the part that it was hard, but on the fact that we just have to manage and we have to do that.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of on what we are focused on.
Yeah, because I also have to admit that when the game was being announced and like being the release date that was coming up, I felt so much for the audio team with the COVID situation coming in at this stage. I was like, oh, this is the worst timing ever to be at the end of the game pipeline. So are you still home since last February?
You know what? We have... the thing is that people, if they can, and if their leads are allowed to, they can work from the office. Of course, not all of them, because we have to have some restrictions. But in our office, we are developing. We are making. People can take, maybe I will explain that way. People can take COVID tests 3 times a week, and those are those tests through the nose and everything. So
yeah, those fun ones.
Yeah, exactly. I love them.
Yeah, aren't they the best?
Yeah, exactly. So if somebody is willing to, take those tests and wear face masks all the time while, stay in the office, they're like good to back to the office. But at the same time, like we have to have restrictions how many people can just stay in the same room. With our designers, it's simpler because we have our separated rooms. So right now we have 2 sound designers in Warsaw back in-house, and in Kraków it's only 1 sound designer is back in the office, and the rest of us is still working from home.
Yeah.
Because we have kids, and it's just hard to develop like good routine when you know that your kid is having Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
In several hours. Yeah, and it will just change how we usually work and live. And we'll see how it's going to change in next few months.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because especially for audio, and I don't want to say it was easier or worse for anyone at all, but in terms of audio, the 2 biggest things for us are, of course, latency and sync, which if remoting in is an absolute nightmare.
That's true.
For that sort of thing. And then also communication is key for us. We're one of the departments that communicate with almost every other department constantly because we have to.
Yeah.
When we're at that end of the pipeline. So like for me especially, like doing the remote work and also the COVID coming in is just completely screwed up the workflow. So I'll be very interested to see, you know, how the different studios handle the different solutions as we move forwards.
You know what? We're having like daily sync just to check how people are feeling, how people are doing during this time, and if they need anything, because we're checking on ourselves, not only regarding sound design, but regarding our physical and mental health, of course, right? Because that was really big shift for us and big change. And from myself, the biggest challenge was like making recordings, because in the office I could just close the door or pop to the other studio and just record things. And when I was working on scenes and working on animation and basically everything, for me it was just easier to take my PCM and just record everything in a go, right? Then I don't know, search for something in thousands of files in our sound libraries. And when I stayed at home, it was just more challenging, because back then I lived, because I moved few months ago to the other apartment, but back then I lived in more crowded area, and I had just trams and buses, and it was really noisy and busy street. So if I wanted to record some more silent Foley, I needed to wake up around 4 a.m. or something. Oof. And just record everything, because later the cleaning everything, even in RX, was just a nightmare, because it was great to have so many recordings of trams or buses, but at the same point I was just trying to record really silent Foley, for like this paper cup of Takamura when he was sitting in the diner talking, and Jesus, I just wanted to record really nice Foley there. Yes.
It's always those quick sounds as well, when you're like, I just need like 30 seconds. I just need 30 seconds of peace, and I can move on with my life.
Yeah. And, in the office, I was just playing my work like a day before and thinking, okay, I will work on this and that scene, or this and that animation, this and that gameplay functionality, or, some combat. And I knew what I wanted to record. So I was just taking many props from home or from the office. And I was always really early. So sometimes I would start mine around 6 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And it was just a routine for me to record things in the very morning when everything was quiet, and I knew that there will be not many obstacles just to record, just to clean from my recordings. And it was like a really nice routine, because we had recordings. Later I was just copying all the files to my PC, preparing myself a breakfast, sitting in front of my PC and clean after.
It sounds quite nice, actually.
Yes, it was just the best possible way for me. And, clearing so everything peaceful. Afterwards, yes, and just cutting all the recordings, because that's my habit. If I record something, I'm like almost instantly trying to clean it and just make nice tracks out of it. Just have something in really nice order, and it's really helping me with all the tasks and all the work you have to do, right? And at home it was super noisy, and sometimes the cleaning part and cleaning the recording from all the noises and obstacles and everything, it was just a nightmare.
I mean, RX can do a lot, but
yeah. And you know what, I always trying to be really cautious and clean everything in teeny tiny steps to avoid all the artifacts and different changes in track. But oh my gosh, it was really something. I think that I learned a lot during this period of time, how to avoid some situations on my spectrogram. But Whew.
Your recording technique became amazing, I bet.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We'll see. I will have to, check and compare that to my old recordings, because I think that there's this like big difference between this year. Yeah.
I can imagine. Now, you mentioned about the Foley that you would quickly record for the scenes and things like that. Obviously, there is too much to list individual things, but just as a kind of overview, apart from handling the scene audio, what was kind of your responsibilities for Cyberpunk overall?
Okay, so scenes, of course, and it was not like that I did all the scenes all by myself, because we had so many scenes. I can't really tell how many more we have them compared to Witcher, but 300%.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you. So I had the help of our other teammates, and that was just wonderful, because without them we will not deliver that. And my other responsibilities were animations, and together with Krzysiek Popli from Krakow Studio, we developed a system for Foley, for V, and all the NPCs characters. And I was taking care of melee combat and cyberware, weapons and cyber combat as well, and all big mechs and robots.
Nice. That must have been fun.
Yeah, one of my favorite designs, this spider bot, a flathead, or how it's called in the game. It's one of my favorites because it's, quirky and cute and small. And that was, in fact, one of my first designs for CP, I guess. It's a pretty old one, but it's really nice.
Awesome. So, sorry, did I cut you off? What was the rest of the responsibility list?
Yeah, I'm thinking right because, gameplay stuff. So it was combat and melee.
Yeah.
And all the cyber weapons, as I said, and animations, which were, oh my gosh, many different animations. We had.
There must have been so many.
Yeah, we had like over 60,000 of animations, if not more. And you know what? It was really, really big challenge for us, because we had different body builds for different characters, right? We have like,
of course,
male, massive, big, female, different body builds for female and male characters, and it was just a nightmare when you think about them in a way that you have to cover all those 60-something thousand animations. And it was like, oh my gosh, how we will even start this topic, right?
Yeah, of course.
I thought that what if we will not think about it as, different anim sets, where animations, I don't know, for somebody drinking are just stashed, but what if we could just open everything at once and just type something and check what kind of animations we will have on the list. So one of the gameplay programmers did that for us, and we were able to open all the animations at once in one window.
Oh, wow.
And that was excellent. And yeah, it was not heavy for, I don't know how he did that, but it was not heavy at all for our CPU or anything in our editor. But it gave us ability, just to type the keywords and copy no sounds between them. So it was pretty big game changer. Yeah.
Man, I can imagine. So you opened them all up at once, but then what did that mean for your workflow? What could you do with them all at once? Could you actually attach play events to each one, or?
Yeah, of course. It was like having different animations opened at once, the list, and there was the list and there was the preview. And if I clicked from, for example, male average to female big animation, it will change the person which was visible on the preview.
Oh, amazing.
So I could just, copy those sounds between tracks as well, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Well, we of course needed to have the ability to copy everything, the whole tracks even, and it was just faster for us. Plus, we work on JSON files, which were stashing all the info about the sounds and the tracks, the group of tracks, in text files. So if, for example, some animations were similar or the same in different body builds. For example, I don't know, you have like combat animations for locomotion for guys in male average group, and they were exactly the same in male big group. You could just copy all the JSON files and put them in the correct directory, and later all the sounds will just appear in the editor because every info was stashed in those text files.
Oh, nice. That must have saved so much time.
Exactly. We're just looking for, teeny tiny improvements like everywhere, because the scope was unbelievably big for us. And if you could just develop a way how to shrink some responsibilities and just stretch time all over again,
Of course, yeah.
It was just, it was the only way, I think, to do that, especially when you think about how big our team was, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when you've told me the team size, and even when I first started playing the game, I looked at just the hugeness, and I've not even got that far. I'm only quite a few hours in, and it's a massive game. So my instincts were, I want to ask about the systemic solutions, because that is the go-to, like, let's find something that will auto do some stuff to help reduce the manual workload. So I really wanted to kind of ask, what was the divider between custom manual work and labor, and where did you come up with systems? Like, there must have been so many, but which systems did you kind of work with?
You know what? For example, with all the melee weapons, because to be honest, I had like the smallest amount of time to develop the good melee combat there, and all the melee weapons were treated differently than guns, for example. Guns they have really, really beautiful custom animations, and from my perspective, it helps a lot when you are seeing really, really top-notch detailed animations, and you can just think about what kind of sounds put there, because it's instantly in your head.
Yeah.
And with melee, I clearly can see difference with this treatment, right? So the fact that many melee weapons were like having the same animations shared between each other, and only different weapon was wielded by V in her hand. For me, it meant that I either can design every single weapon differently, or I can use metadata, because we are using metadata as well in CDP. And I developed this system where we were using some basic sounds which were shared between many weapons, but in metadata, I could just create metadata for every single weapon itself. So it means that I did not have very big systemic metrics in WISE. I was avoiding that because I wanted to move everything to metadata. And in metadata, I was able to change the pitch, the low pass and high pass and volume of every single layer of the sound there. So even if I was reusing the same sound for, I don't know, for pipe wrench or for some kind of hammer or something like that, I still was able to add some more detailed sound there. For example, this pipe wrench has this ringing sound, right? And which weapon I should talk about? And the other weapons have like, I don't know, like longer tail or some rings. And every single weapon could basically reuse some kind of sounds there, some layers, and at the same time they could have their own more specific for them layers there. But some weapons were of course unique. They had like very unique animations, and they had to be treated in a unique way. So katanas, of course, they were really, really nice, and they had really nice animations. So it was for me different type of work, right? When you are seeing just really nice animations and you can just feel the movement and how fast and sharp it is. And I think that, reusing assets with the ability of changing them, of making them something more unique and not repetitive, that was something which just help to make it fast, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious as well, so you did all this in metadata,
Yes.
but did you trial and error the values you were going to put into the metadata? Like how did you decide like what pitch variation, what you were going to do with the filters, all that sort of stuff? Did you do that in the door and then kind of go, okay, right, this is what we're going to do?
I've asked our one of our audio code, Mateusz Ptasiński, was helping me that with the whole system to have this connection between our editor and metadata. So it was possible for me, just to change something on the switch in metadata and hear that instantly in game.
So you could test it in real time. That's awesome.
Yeah, because previously it was pain in the ass, when I had to change something and think, okay, maybe it will work, and later open the game, open the editor, and just check something. Yeah,
speeds up things so much.
Yeah, and basically we used later a similar approach to the Foley system, because we use that making like unique Foley sound for every single piece of equipment and calling for V and for NPCs. That's impossible.
That would be insane.
Yeah, not with all the different variations of clothes you can have in the game. So basically we had recorded by Juice Studio in Warsaw some Foley, and we divided that into several main clothing materials, and we have additives. So like belts, chains, like more metallic ones, more leather, something. And it was just the matter of setting everything in metadata and connecting, some type of equipment into one box, let's say, and to have info that, okay, so this box, which contains all the equipment from the same type of materials, we have this kind of sounds. And we again have this ability to just check in game after changing equipment on V, how does it sound like. And with this approach, if we would wear something more unique, something more legendary, we can just make a unique metadata file only for this equipment and not for something else.
Amazing. And how did you handle that with all the like thousands, if not millions, of NPCs that could appear in different outfits that were doing random idle animations? And like I saw all that and was like, whoa, that's a lot of work. Even if you come up with a systemic approach, even testing it is a lot of work.
Yeah, you know what? It was like we had help from the, oh my God, characters team, because every single item, every single piece of clothing had like unique tag, and there were different tags, in the window with visible just piece of clothing there, like, right? And for example, tags were, I don't know, like civilian or maelstrom or something. So it was just info about what kind of clothes somebody's wearing and to what kind of fraction it belongs to. And we asked them if they could tag there as well some info about sounds. So they were adding there that it's leather, light leather, heavy leather, or some metal elements, something like that. So from us, it was giving us the information, the needed information, what kind of sound should play there. And later we develop as well the priority system for that, because somebody could wear, I know, so trousers and vest and t-shirt and something on top of that. So it was just a matter of thinking what kind of clothing should be audible and hearable for you when you're playing, right? So it was not that complicated after we just managed to think how to tackle this problem. Yeah.
Debugging it must have been a nightmare though.
Yeah, especially, with many NPCs walking around, and yeah, that was something.
So yeah, with those, I just want to quickly ask again, like with the little movements of like the arms and like moving around and all the little kind of shuffles, did you have like different assets based on the speed, and then the animators would tag it as like slow movement, fast movement? Like how would you handle the way it's moved?
Yeah, so we recorded some sounds with Juice Studio, and when we talk about it with them, we ask them to think about all the movements in a way of the speed and how much power you develop into the sound. So we have like different types of movement, like fast light, fast medium, and fast heavy, and normal light, normal medium, normal heavy, and strong light, medium, and heavy. And we have different sounds for walk and for run, for example. And later it was like just a matter of connect in metadata those tags like light, fast, and light, medium, light, light, heavy with needed sounds there. And basically we could just pick any sound in Wise to connect there. So it was great for us because even if we picked the one tag, for example this fast light tag, we could put there as many sounds as we want to.
Right, okay.
For example, if that was I know some sounds for more significant character, like more main NPC, right, than somebody just in the crowd. So if we want to have somebody wearing some leather jacket, so we put their leather light sound, plus on top of that maybe some chains, and if that was somebody who were wearing lots of jewelry and bracelets, we could add there on top of that another sound and another one if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So it was just really good system, in fact, because we were really flexible and we could just decide if you want to cover some types of people with only this kind of sounds, and if somebody was more important and we knew that they had to have more significant sounds, we could just in a fly just make something for them. And it was really fast, and because it was metadata, so it was text files as well, we could just copy those files and later just change in the C++ something program, the info there. Yeah.
Nice. That sounds like a pretty good solution. And what about for the player? How different was it for the player? Obviously, because you can change your own outfits, but you can also modify your cybernetics and a few other things that must affect it.
Well, you know what? When we were thinking about Foley, we were thinking about only clothing.
Yeah.
We were not thinking about equipment and everything because it was not that visible for us, right? When we changed the cyberware on V, it was not changing the sounds which were producing by V while walking or running or something. So we were mostly focused on Foley.
Okay, nice. And what other systems did you have to come up with to tackle such a sheer amount of work coming your way?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I need to think because we were talking about Foley, about weapons, and I think that those systems were like my main used mostly for me.
Yeah.
Tools, yeah, by me. And for other sound designers, I think that they were different systemic solutions. And well, that's their area of expertise. And we, for example, have this really nice system for acoustics and reverb developed by Paweł Daudzwar, because he's our master of reverbs and acoustics in the game, with help of the audio code. And I remember when he was showing me everything, so basically we were having this different types of reverb in the game, right? So it was large, medium, and small one. And basically he developed something with audio code, which were checking automatically in what kind of location player is, and it was checking the distance between player and walls and all the obstacles, and it was just in a fly checking what kind of reverb it should play.
Oh, nice. Was this based on raycasting?
Yeah, it was really nice.
My next question was also going to be sort of planning related, because again, I apologize if I'm going very kind of like planning approach here, because I just saw the scope and was like, there must have been so much on that side of things. Like, where do you draw the line on where to spend your time? Like, how do you look at something like this and even begin to be like, okay, right, okay, this for so many months or so many hours on this system, and then do you know what? That's it. It's done. We just need to move on.
Yeah, you know what? It's a really tough one because we are artists, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to develop this way of thinking that, okay, that's enough. I don't want to change that anymore, or it's okay because if we are artists, we always see the room of improvements for improvements there. And I think in our case, it was just the knowledge that we have many other things to take care of. And we knew that, okay, this design is not the best, it could be improved, but right now we have gaps in so many areas. And that was just more important than improving this particular one design.
Yeah.
And as hard as it sounds, it's just a matter of deciding which is more important right now. It was just, you know, thinking, it was not like what kind of battles we want to win. It was just picking battles for us because we had so many things to do and to cover and to change. And it's like sometimes I'm checking my designs and I know, okay, that was just one shot and I did that, you know, in one session, and I think, okay, it can stay because it's okay. And sometimes I'm just listening to my designs like, oh, holy shit, girl, what were you thinking? And
I think we can all relate to that one. Don't worry.
yes, and you know what? It's like I know that I should go back to this design at some point and change that, but at some point I know that we have so many different things to do.
That's like goes on the nice to have or if I have time list.
Exactly, yes. And you know, I think that I'm not beating myself up with everything. Like, I know how different games sound like and what we could achieve there, because I know that we have totally different team and we don't have army of outsource and other people helping us. And when you think about it, how much we achieve with only 9 people at some point, it's really outstanding. Even when you know about all the things that's supposed to be changed.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Like, you definitely shouldn't beat yourself up about anything. I think a lot of us know how games are made and how much you have to just prioritize your time.
At the very end of time. Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that one because that's a big one. Changes at the last minute, but let's not go there.
Yeah.
So I have kind of a fun question to ask next, rather than like boring planning questions as I seem to have been going along.
Okay.
What did you learn throughout working on The Witcher that you were able to bring to Cyberpunk 2077?
I think that a lot because that was like very beginning of my journey, right, in game development and audio.
I was going to say, it's probably a tough one considering you were like all on The Witcher 3 first, and then that was the beginning of your kind of audio career.
I think that I was just learning back then all the tools and how the game development works, and you know how we are reliant on other teams and how we have to stay connected with other teams. And this kind of knowledge just, you know, stays with you, and it has to be upgraded all the time, I think.
Yeah.
Plus we had different tech in Witcher because we were using different engine back then.
Yeah, and it's a very different game in general as well.
Yeah, so different engines, and you know, learning everything from the very beginning again, and thinking what kind of tools you supposed to have, and they're not there, but they were like obvious to have, and why people are not thinking, you know, to have them. And I think that those two projects were totally different because with Witcher I was on the very end, and with CP I was growing with the project, and I was developing my skills alongside with, you know, the whole project there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what would you say was the most challenging part of switching to? I mean, everything was different, really. It was, you know, first person. It's now the futuristic setting.
Yeah.
So many other things. Like, what was the biggest challenge for you switching to Cyberpunk?
You know what? I think that everything was challenging. Like it was interesting at the same time because that's something new, right? And
Yeah.
we are working on new project, and that's different stylistic. And we were on the medieval game, let's say, fantasy one, and now we're on sci-fi,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the world is new and it's different, and we don't know what cyberpunk is and how to tackle this topic and how to find out what the cyberpunk is. You just have to, start and do designs. And I think that finding out the cyberpunk sound was the most important for us, because we are always reaching out to have this organic sound, and we are using as much as we can our own recordings to have something unique and in really good quality. And I think that focusing on that is the most important for us.
Nice. And I wanted to ask again about the scenes you worked on. And did you handle a lot of the dialogue yourself?
You know what? Dialogues were handled by Piotrek Malinowski, because he is the one who's taking care of all the post-pro on voice, and he developed his own system to work on different many languages at the same time, like how to process, batch process all the items there.
Yeah.
And I think that he did like marvelous and really beautiful job, because post processes in our game are really, really great. They kick ass, and they're really something, yeah. And so that was his and localization job, and audio code as well, because there was some help on their side as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
So scenes were mostly sound effects and dialogues, and everything was just a different part of the game.
Cool. So out of all of the things you worked on, what would you say is one of your proudest moments where you still play it and you still hear it and you're like, do you know what? I nailed that. I'm so happy with that.
That's a tough one, really. You know what? I really like Katana, because it's really fast and sharp, as I said before. And I remember that I was making and creating sounds for it, and I had some animations which were not used in game, sadly, but it was like, moving the blade and touching it, and just all the finger work on the blade. It was really nice to make Foley for this, because it was really in front of V, and it was really close to character, and it was
so satisfying.
Yes, it was really, really nice. And I really liked the spider bot, flathead, this tiny robot thingy, because it was really cute and fun, and it was really nice. I really liked the nanowire weapon, because I was recording cello strings.
Oh, nice.
For this weapon, yeah, because I think that, it reminds me greatly of this thing from Johnny Mnemonic.
Yes.
In terms of visuals, yeah. So I thought, like, what kind of thing I should use for recordings to achieve this bendy and flexible and fast and power feeling. And I thought, well, I could just use some strings, and basically I was using my fingernails, and I was just having this string between my nails, and I was just moving really fast and quick on the string, and it ruined my nails. Like, come on.
Suffering for your art there.
yeah, I remember that I bought like different kinds of strings and wires, like guarding ones. I was just moving that around, just to have the sound. And I remember that I found in one audio room this metallic sheet of paper, and it was something. What was that? That was prototype for the Steelbox, I guess.
Oh.
But it was, super flat and light, and when I moved that, it developed this really nice wobbly sounds, and I thought, I need that wobble in this. So that was it. Plus, another fun thing. Oh, you know what? All the recordings for Bathtub Full of Ice. I bought like several kilos of big bags of ice, and I've put ice into the bath, and I've jumped in because I wanted to, check how does it look like, what you are hearing, and how your perception changes when you
That
are
is
in this
brave.
icy cold water. Yeah, and it was really cold. I was like, holy shit, it's cold. Yeah, and I wanted to jump out, but I was there recording stuff and doing all the movements and everything.
So did you have underwater mics?
No, I was not using contact mic. Yeah, I was just using my trusted PCM D100. And well, I'm not, gear freak. I'm a mom, I'm working mom, and my PCM D100, it's like enough for me because I can just put that in my purse and go everywhere.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to record something, just take it out and, record in a second. We have like lots of mics in the office and we are using them. But when I was recorded everything with this ice at home, I was using a PCM.
I mean, that's dedication right there, putting yourself in a bath of
Yeah.
ice just to see what it sounds
You know
like.
what? Yeah, afterwards, I remembered that I wanted to record some body falls as well, because we have this scene with Sandra Dorset on the very beginning of the game, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that I wanted to show that she's really vulnerable and that her body is really weak at that point. So I don't wanted to show any, strong muscles or something. I just wanted to show that her body is really soft and
delicate, yeah.
Weak and delicate. Yeah, exactly. So I was, again, after this bath with icy cold water, I was just falling on the ground.
And people say sound designers are crazy. I don't know what they're talking about. The weird and wonderful stuff we get up to.
I have no idea exactly. Oh, you know what? Another scene with murdering the Saburo, when the Saburo and Yorinobu, they were having this conversation, and V was hidden in this room with Jackie, and I was, to be honest, I was recording myself in Paweł that room, because his room is like connected to 3 others, but they have this other space there, right? So
Yeah.
I was just putting mic in this space, and I was inside his room, and I was just throwing myself on the window because we have windows obviously there, and I want to just record all the hits, with the head there, and I think that I did not destroy his door there, but yeah, sounds were really nice.
But you made it sound great in the end, so that's what matters, right?
Yeah, of course. It was like, you're hearing it, you're playing the game, it's like, yeah. If it's like something almost unnoticeable for you, it means that it works, right?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's the classic cliche about audio, right? You notice it more when it's not working than when it is working.
Yeah. It just gives you vibe, and it just there's somewhere, on the very edge of just realizing that the sound is there. Yeah. So those, and I think that, all the scenes at the Victor Vector, when we're having those operations, their surgeries there, it was really nice because the Foley was there.
Yeah, they felt super good.
Yeah.
So there must have been some challenges arising with being able to have a male or female V. What were some of the challenges and solutions you had for that?
You know what? First of all, we were using switches for gender in Wise, obviously, and it was really, really helpful because we were just have to prepare specific sounds for female and male version of V, right? And Switch was doing all the job, but there was some specific parts in game when we were not able to do that. And I remember that our audio code developed this really nice feature for us animations, because V sometimes we're sharing the same animation between female and male body and character, and we have this ability to make a difference in animation between using different entities. So, for example, you were connecting some tag with entity, and if the animation was using by different characters, you could just while implementation add info to the sound that it's supposed to be used only by this entity, supposed to be used by everyone except this one entity. So it helped us a lot. for example, with Oda, because Oda, this guy who is wielding mantis blades and is like old, let's say, friend of Takamura, he was using different his unique animations, but he was using as well animations for the male average characters. So he was supposed to use only sounds connected to his mantis blades, because they were just different than the standard default mantises for NPCs. So in that case, all the animations were tagged with sounds, and the normal default sounds were having this info that use on everyone except Oda, and all the Oda sounds were having this info used only on Oda, not on every other character.
Oh, wow.
So it was really helpful for us, yeah.
That's super handy. That's super useful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was saving our lives many times. Yeah.
Lots of chocolate bought for lots of people to say thanks, I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's always, the team effort, and it's never the sniper's work, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I could ask questions all day about this game. However, sadly, I only have one left to ask today. And this can be a bit of a doozy sometimes. If you could go back in time to the beginning of the project and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think be more persistent.
Aha.
And yeah, be more persistent, and remember always to talk with the others and ask people about things, and don't rely on the fact that if you do something or think that one design is done and it will not be changed by anyone, just make sure later that in fact it could be changed, because we have many situations where designs were done on our side, so audio and all the post processes were there, and FXs and everything, and they were changed and we had no idea about something has changed. So maybe make a list and just think about it. We have, of course, the postmortem after the game, and we thought and talk what to improve, and one of the ideas was just prepare this spreadsheet with things to check during the game production, because we are thinking about everything right now, and we know that what challenges and things that could just hit us hard later could happen, but during the game production, when everything is working and people are tired and not thinking about everything, just good to have this to-do checklist, just to check if we are in this moment in the game development when we should check this thing or that thing. Okay, we are approaching this part and we supposed to start to think about that, consider this issue, and if it's there or if it's here, to think about it, or we are safe or not. So I think that it would be it, because recordings, I think that, well, I'm just thinking out loud, because I thought that maybe we should do more recordings, but at the same time I know that I was, for example, making recordings every single day, sometimes a few times per day. I was recording like hour or even more material, and it's always good to have something you can add to the game, but I don't think that that's something seen as a problem there. So yeah, be more persistent, just remember to check.
Awesome. Well, yeah, every project I think is a learning experience for everyone, especially a project of this size and scope.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Hanna, and I hope you'll join me again in the near future.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I hope that too. It was really great to talk with you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's been amazing. And thanks again to Hanna, and thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
Hey everyone, this is Sam. Thanks very much for listening to the Sound Architect podcast today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, there are many ways you can support the show, which is incredibly appreciated. Obviously, there's the financial way where you can support us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/sounddesignuk. However, there are many other ways which also help, such as liking, subscribing, reviewing, commenting, and sharing via whatever channel you listen on. Thanks so much for your support already. It really is a work of passion for me, and I'd love to keep sharing the knowledge from all these talented and wonderful people. Thanks again, and catch you on the next episode.